When I was looking to buy a company in 2018, I looked at Schad Tracy and said that's a perfect match for me. I was able to come in and benefit from all of their knowledge and being able to go back out into the market and create more customers and modernize a little bit. That's another advantage of buying a legacy company, which is what I wanted, was a long time representation and partnership with our company that we can continue to build on in the future. Schad Tracy Signs started essentially out of a garage in the back of this building. So this is the south building. I believe there was an auto dealership in the front side of this building and a couple other businesses kind of throughout, but they got their start in the back side of this building, slowly kind of grew and ended up buying this building, which is about roughly 10,000 square feet. And then I believe that they added on a little bit, so about 2,000 square feet. And that probably brought us into maybe the 1980s or so when they started needing more room. They started building Neon, which we're actually doing this interview in what was called the old Neon room, where they put all the mercury and bent the glass tubes and made the neon for the neon signs. And then in the mid-90s or early 90s, they bought the lot next door and they built what we call the North Shop. And the North Shop has always housed the trucks for the Rochester market at night to keep them, I guess, safe from crime and things like that and keep them warm. But mainly to fabricate all the larger things that we produce, a lot of the pylon signs and monument signs or wall cabinets, but mainly the big stuff. And that's kind of how it's been. So this is the North Shop. This is what we call it could be a channel box or it could be a wall sign. It's framed box that lights up. It would attach to the side of a building. As you can see, the size of these things is big again. And then the attach point of this, which is a custom channel box or a logo box, is attached right to the frame for added visual and added depth to the sign. So this is an example. We'll take in signs and do refurbished. This sign in particular, one of my fabricators was telling us this is now the third time that we've redone it. But we'll take the entire face off, and this one we actually put an entirely new face on it and then routed a spot where it's going to be a push through, and that'll come through. And here's where obviously it attaches back to the cabinet. But an example of a push through is right here. These are routed faces, so reason why it's called a push through is you take it with this routed aluminum piece, and then you get Plex and it pushes right through. And then it's illuminated from the back inside the cabinet so that this is all you see, and this blocks out the light. We have a finished one right here of a very similar type project where this is a routed aluminum face with push-throughs that come through, so only the plastic pieces that you see here are the ones that light up. So the company started in 1979. This was one of their first advertising pieces that was ever done. Looks like 1984. The original logo that they made, all right here, or I should say logo, and then this is part of their logo with the name, which is actually held up until today's date. I don't know if this building is there anymore, but this is the Kemp's plant, right, also downtown. And I have no idea where Ads and Art is, but it's cool. This is one of the original signs that we did back in the early 80s, I believe, for Barlow Foods, when this entire complex was Barlow Foods. We redid it, I believe, in the 90s, late 90s, and now we're considering redoing it again. We have proposals out there to do that again because this is no longer Barlow Foods, it's actually a Hy-Vee. So it'll be probably a Hy-Vee Foods sign. So this is moving to design again in the mid to early 2000s, moving to the LEDs. These are, you know, when we manufacture them in-house, we'll put these aluminum pieces inside, and we'll attach the LEDs to the aluminum piece. But when you're out into the field, they actually do make sticks that will plug right into an old fluorescent receptor so that when we're servicing things, we can just do it on the fly. So depending on the size of the cabinet itself determines how many rows of LEDs that you put in. It also, the width of the cabinet itself will determine that as well. What you want is a combination of light that when you do have a face on here, that you can't see the lines of light coming through it. So there's a little bit of a science behind the combination of how many LEDs are in there in combination with the depth of the sign, the width of the sign, things like that. You can see the sign that we were just looking at back from the 1980s. Whenever we'd build large wall cabinets like this, they would all be fluorescent light bulbs, which you get in most lighting situations. Starting in about the early 2000s is when they started retrofitting into LEDs and moving into more efficient technology. So we're still to this day retrofitting fluorescent bulbs, but we're also now retrofitting the first round of LEDs, so it's kind of in its second generation. So this is our sign graveyard, which ebbs and flows with the amount of signage that we have back here. This is actually a sign that's not dead yet. We'll go rehang it, we'll store it for the customer and then go rehang it back out at their next position that they want it. Some of the older signs, it's kind of crazy to see how large some of these things are. If you see me standing by this thing, but you're driving down the road and you don't think they're that big, look at how tall this thing is. It's kind of crazy. Sign graveyard here. Sometimes we can refurbish them and resell them to customers and get them done that way. Here's some big letters that were up in St. Paul. Pizza place. Again, attached from a side perspective so that arrows pointing into the business. Old signage. It's just cool.
Let's see here. This is the W for a car wash set of letters, but we haven't gotten the go-ahead to punch lock them yet, but we've bent them. Well, this is our machine that we got here for Schad Tracy. It was installed in 2007. Before we got the machine, we had to do everything by hand, and that required 3 different smaller machines. I'll start it up for you. Pick a letter that we want. We'll make a T. First, it's going to start notching it, and there's 3 different notchers. Next is the flanger, and there's it coming out with the bending arm, and that will soon start out. And there it is. Bent up, cut off. And there's our T. And then this will fit right inside after we hand bend it a little bit. There, that's a better look.
So these are what we call halo letters. So basically it's an aluminum can. You can see it's all welded, aluminum on the back, sealed for weather and things like that. Here's the raw inside, so it's all the LEDs connected and everything. Standoffs that you put so that it sets back from the wall. And then these would punch through the wall to be hooked up on the inside with all the electrical and the transformers and things like that. But yeah, this is pretty raw stuff right here. The can then goes over the top. It's probably easier to assemble like this. Basically, just gets into place, snaps in, little screws right here, and then it sets up as if it's on the wall with the punch through in the back. We pride ourselves, and I would say the legacy of the business has been built on quality. And I would say that the basis of all of this comes back to making sure that we understand what the customer needs.